All right, guys, a couple of things we're going to go over in this video that I haven't really seen anybody talk about, and that's, digital medium format, an actual 35mm film. Obviously, we know that film gets the best skin tones out there, and it's hard to beat. When it comes to retouching portrait work, whether, it's a fashion test shoot like we're going to go over today, wedding stuff, or whatever it is, whoever's shooting film and digital, I think you might be shocked to see what edits a little bit easier than the other. Also, the whole reason I'm getting time to make this video and share this with you is thanks to Aperty. They're sponsoring this video. I've been using their software like crazy, and it's made my life way easier when it comes to retouching. First off, just to cover all of our bases here, this photo shoot was done with the Leica MP and the Leica 35mm. There are some Typoc 28, Typoc Eureka 50mm shots in there. And then for the digital medium format, we're using the Hasselblad X2D with a combo of the 55V and the 25V lenses by Hasselblad. And pretty much all of the Hasselblad shots are using short stash everyday filters, which is like a mix of a polarizer and a diffusion filter, very subtle. Now, with all that out of the way, let's actually get into the nitty gritty. So these are the two files we're going to go over. On the right, we have the Leica MP Kodak Portra 400 file over here. This was scanned by Wilson's Film Lab. They do all of my film. They're based out in Scottsdale, Arizona. Their scan techs are amazing and they know the look I want. But let me just reset the edit. That's what the scan looked like coming in. And this is my edit on there. And then on the left here, we have the Hasselblad X2D. I am working on new film emulation presets that lean a little bit more towards this cleaner film aesthetic rather than my Roadrunner ones that are out already. Those have more of a stylized look that, I still use like crazy. But with these ones, anybody who likes a more neutral look, these will be done here soon. So I'm just gonna open this up straight from Lightroom into Aperty, just through the edit in menu. All right, so you guys can see this is the film shot. Before anybody starts going crazy that I'm editing film, people have been doing this for decades. All those magazines from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they had their own way of retouching skin. There was a million tricks that they would do in the film labs to, do actual portrait retouching. But now we have software like Aperty, which pretty much does it all. And also, guys, I've been a photographer for over 15 years now. For a lot of those years, I was working in the commercial fashion industry, and I got pretty good at retouching, but never as good as the top end retouchers out there. And even they, including it would take us hours sometimes on one photo. I don't have to deal with that nightmare anymore. Sending these photographs out to clients or models or whoever I'm working with, it doesn't take months now because I can literally make my selects, do quick edits in Lightroom, open it up in Aperty, do all my retouching, done. Literally takes less than a day now to get a whole photo shoot done. It used to take me a freaking week to get through retouching. And also, after we're done retouching both images, we'll go through them and I'll tell you guys what the big differences are if you guys aren't seeing it already off the bat. For instance, film does not have the resolution of digital. There's grain onto it. And so it can help smooth out skin naturally, but there's still retouching you have to do. So I'm just gonna turn up the blemish removals. Obviously, she doesn't have any blemishes in this shot right here. Let's keep the freckles in there. I'm gonna turn skin smoothing up all the way. One thing you guys are gonna notice right off the bat, when it came to retouching film portraits, literally just a couple years ago, you had to do a lot of workarounds to not remove the grain. That's the hard part with retouching film is, you can't just do patch removals. You start repatching some of the grain and it starts looking inorganic. So Aperty's engine behind the scenes, you're going to see this is one of the big tricks with the software here. It's not destroying all the skin texture and details and the grain that's naturally happening in the photo. So again, when it comes to retouching film, this AI retouching just is better than what I was doing. You see face skin color correction. Again, the film kind of nailed it and my edit didn't destroy the skin tones too much. So we really don't need it too much, but I am gonna do the dark circle removal and you're gonna see right there what that's doing. She's a younger model. She really doesn't have really much. So you can imagine, depending on the person you're shooting, for instance, if this was a portrait of me, even if it was on film, I have horrible adult acne. I'm about to be 35. I still have horrible breakouts. My skin marks very easily as well. I have overall, I just have very sensitive skin. It's very annoying. So this stuff, you would see it a lot better on someone like my face. Anyways, we're going to use this dark circle removal. I'm going to keep it right around there. Let's do face brightening just so I can show you guys what this does. Obviously, if you shot a portrait in bad light, you'll be able to lift this up. Since this is film though, we don't have as much latitude as we would if this was a digital medium format image. You guys will see. So we don't need to really use that on here. Now, shine removal. You guys could see her skin's not oily or anything like that, but sometimes the sun will reflect and and it causes highlights that don't look natural like they do in real life. So an easy way to help this, even before doing retouching, is to simply use a polarizer like I was on the X2D. On film, I tend not to use those because, it can make your exposures wonky. But anyways, let's turn this up a little bit. Again, I don't want to kill too much of the specular highlights. I just want to control it a little bit so your eye and brain's not naturally going to those hot spots on her face. Right there looks pretty good. So again, I'll redo that just so you guys can see. That's before and that's after. Now let's go to the eyes. You can see the film's kind of subtly holding some of the color in her iris. So I'm just going to turn up the eye enhancement. So you can see it's going into that iris and it's kind of just making it pop out a little bit more. A lot of these tricks too, you want to make sure you're zooming out and checking to see if you're overcooking it, if you're over baking it. You don't want to go overboard with any of this stuff. It's good to zoom in and see what the software's doing, but make sure you zoom out and make sure it looks natural still. So we still look pretty natural. And again, as I zoom in, all of our film grain is still there. That's what's magical about this. Now, I do wish we got a little bit more of a catch light in her eye. We're shooting midday, but say, sometimes on digital cameras, the iris still gets muted out. Film does a better job at holding it. Granted, film doesn't have the same resolution, but if you wanted to, you can easily go in and you could give her a fake iris. Say she has blue eyes and the camera just totally killed it and the dynamic range couldn't hold up to it. But I think her natural iris looks just fine. If she had bloodshot eyes, we could turn up the eye whitening and all that, but I'm gonna keep it as is right now. And then if you go in the mouth, you see we have teeth whitening, teeth brightening. Her teeth aren't showing, so we're good. Now here's where it gets a little bit more fun. We have makeup. So a lot of the times I either like shooting models with no makeup or very bare minimum makeup, but sometimes I do wish we had some contouring on there and an actual makeup artist there. It just depends on the shoot. Contouring is makeup talk, but basically if you guys go look at in a mirror outside or in a car window or something, you'll see when the sun's hitting you, you have highlight points here naturally, oil builds up on the edges of our faces here. And then underneath your cheeks, it'll contour in a little bit because of the shadows. So with makeup artists can increase that effect in camera basically by, painting that in with makeup. We can now do that through software like this as well. Again, there was ways to do this in the old school way of retouching. It took a lot of work. And not only did it take a lot of work, it took a lot of vision and actually understanding what it takes to get that look. Like I'm telling you guys, pro retouchers, it was to the point to where you have to learn how to do the makeup in real life. And then you could take that into retouching and that would help you be a better retoucher when it comes to contouring. But again, we don't have to worry about that anymore because now this software like this can just do it all for us. So you can see I'm going to turn this up right here and you can see it's going to all the typical spots that a makeup artist will go to and it's doing the contouring for us. I'm going to turn that up about halfway there. I dig that. You see we could feather it out. We could blend it out. This is another thing that makeup artists would always do. And then the highlights. So you guys saw we removed a lot of the shine, but now I'm going to add it back in. But when we add it back in through the highlight, it's going to do it on a more constructive basis. So the software is just going to do it in a more pleasing way, but I'm just going to do it just really subtly. We're not going to go too hard with that. We give her some eyeliner just to help bring out her eyelashes even a little bit more. Now lips, this is another thing. A lot of the times when people go and do their edits, you start messing with the reds and the skin tones, the lips sometimes get lost in that. And all of a sudden, your lips look grayed out or they look oversaturated. On here, I'm just going to darken them a little bit. And then I'm going to turn up this tone. So overall, the lips are going to be a little bit more even overall. I'm going to decrease the darkening and her lips are pretty saturated. So I'm going to leave that as is. I might turn off the darkening now, actually. Yeah, I like that more. So you can see that's what tone turned off. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit. And there you go. So again, this is what's special about films. Film does an amazing job at separating skin tones and lips and iris colors and stuff. A lot of times our digital files aren't the greatest at that. So from here, I'm just going to go into our reshape button over here. The lighting that's on our model right now, you see on this film shot here, it's going directly from the cheek, directly on her nose, and it's kind of mushing that line, and it's making parts of her face look thicker than they are in actual real life. So again, when I retouch things, I'm trying to make it look like it did in real life. I'm not trying to make them look like some AI model or try to make them look perfect. Again, I'm trying to do an accurate representation in real life. So we're just gonna go to her nose right here. We're gonna go to the bridge. This is the bridge of your nose right there. And I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. And there you go. Again, when I looked at this model, this is more what she looked like in real life. This is the issue with photography is we're getting snapshots of real life. When you do that, sometimes you're getting unrealistic moments of what they don't actually look like when they're moving around in real life as light's moving on them and everything. That's the point of this. So guys, that's it for the film shot. Let me show you before and after real quick. So this is before, that's after. Before, after. You can see we didn't make her look any different. Again, all I'm doing is I'm trying to recreate what she looks like in real life. So we're zoomed in almost 400% on here. So again, here's the before. Look at all the film grain on her face and then the after. All of that grain still there. This software did not touch that grain at all. Like, this is amazing. Again, doing retouching the old school way, that's what we're calling it now, I would lose a bunch of that grain. Sometimes there's been times where I had to go in and try to recreate film grain and paint it back in on certain spots. Now, let's go to our medium format shot here. All right, guys, before I go any further, again, Aperty is sponsoring this video, so I have to give them a shout out. They're hooking it up for everybody that wants to try it. In this video, you guys are gonna see how crazy the software is. It just saves me so much time now when it comes to retouching. But I'll be sure to leave a link down in the description. So if you guys click that and use the code Cameron10, it's right here, you'll get a 7-day free trial. You get 10% off of your subscription, and you also get a free month off your annual subscription. They're also going to be doing a 50% off on a spring offer, and that includes the 10%. So again, if you guys want to try it, this is the time to try it. So make sure, again, the link's in the description if you want to try out Aperty. That's all. Let's get into the rest of the video now. That's a pretty crazy sale, honestly. So guys, right off the bat, you're probably seeing a dramatic difference here. Again, film does a beautiful job with its grain and its skin texture to recreating it to what we actually see in real life. Because the reality is, you know, we're not going up to each other's faces and micro-analyzing our skin texture in the most harsh light. So what you're about to see, we don't see that in real life. We're not seeing every little micro bump and skin texture and blemish and whatever it is. So when it comes to, you know, one of the latest and greatest digital medium format cameras, this Hasselblad X2D, with one of their latest and greatest lenses. This shot was done with Hasselblad's 25V. It's a 25mm f2.5 lens. And again, this shot was done with the short stash filter on there still too. So, you know, we're still picking up all the skin texture. So now when it comes to retouching digital files, this is where the software is going to be even more handy because we have even more details to mess with. So there's gonna be the biggest difference between the two. I don't think a lot of people are aware of this. Even on lower megapixel digital cameras and film shots, the less details and skin texture you have, sometimes it can actually make retouching even more difficult. But the more texture and details you have, sometimes it will make retouching even easier because there's more to work with. And it basically has more information that it could use. Because a lot of the times it's retouching, it's sampling other parts of the skin to recreate the texture. I don't know if Aperty is utilizing all that. They must be, I don't know. But you guys are gonna see how incredibly easy this is to retouch here. So let's just zoom in a little bit more. Again, this is a 100 megapixel shot. So I'm gonna turn up the blemish removal. Off the bat, already, you guys can see how magical this is. Once again, look at all the skin texture. This has always been the hardest thing with, again, old school retouching, is you would try to smooth that skin and it would just get rid of all the skin textures. There's a few different ways to preserving it, but still, it took a lot of work to make sure you weren't nuking that skin texture. So again, here's before and after. Here's before, here's after. Before, after. It's literally holding every single piece of skin texture still while removing the blemishes. This is magical. Now, say if there's too much skin texture, let's just do our skin smoothing here. So again, for this, I'm going to zoom all the way back out because you'll see if I turn the skin smoothing up right here, it's doing too much. Now we're getting like that plasticky fake looking skin. But when you zoom in, it looks really good, but everybody's going to be looking at it from this distance. So I don't think I'm going to use any skin smoothing. We'll just do a little bump of it, just a little bit. Guys, like I was saying, I've been shooting for over 15 years now. So naturally, skin tones live in my brain. So while I am editing, I usually can get pretty accurate skin tones without even checking. So you guys are going to see it as I turn this all the way up. It really didn't change much. So again, if you're somebody, you know, you're still learning and adapting to knowing skin tones, this thing's really going to help you. It's going to balance out everything. Now I'm going to zoom back in here just so we can see what's going on here. I'm going to turn up the dark circles removal right there. And again, that's just going to soften that transition there. Obviously she got light just cooking on her face here. So we don't even need to do the face brightening, but maybe she does. Hang on. Yeah, let's turn that up a little bit right here. It's actually like that a little bit. It makes the face stand out a little bit more. Now, once again, you see we have a lot of that shine still happening. So I'm going to turn the shine removal all the way up and I'm going to feather it back down because we don't want to kill all of it. We want her to still look, you know, natural. For the eye shot here, her eyes are barely open. So I'm not even going to go through that one. Apologies. Again, no teeth on this one either. Makeup, I'm gonna leave alone, but I am gonna go to the contouring because again, she has light just blasting all over her face here. So I do wanna, you know, bring some of the definition back in her face. So again, I'm gonna zoom out just to make sure we're not overcooking it here. So I'm gonna turn it up about, 30%, and then I'm gonna feather it out a little bit just to soften it. We don't wanna look too chiseled. Highlights, I'm gonna turn it up kind of hard just so you guys can see what it's doing here. Let's go all the way up. I like highlights all the way up. Yeah, we'll keep it all the way up. Should we feather it? Yeah, we'll feather a little bit as well. Eyeliner, you guys can see what the eyeliner is doing right here. This is before, this is after. So we're gonna keep that, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of a glow just to soften it up a little bit. Now you can see during editing, her eyebrows got kind of lifted. So I am gonna do the eyebrow enhancement. Let's just go to like around 50%. And you're gonna see that's just bringing some definition and it's darkening it again, because in person, her eyebrows were darker, but through the editing, it kind of got the eyebrows a little bit lost. You see with lips, we are losing a little bit of, I guess just the roundness of the color. So I'm just gonna increase tone a little bit, and then I'm going to darken it just a little bit here. There we go. We're gonna turn on body scan real quick. So one thing that a lot of people miss is when they're doing retouching, they forget to retouch the neck. We all naturally have creases on our necks. You know, our necks get a lot of movements. So this body scan smoothing is gonna help smooth that out a little bit. So it's consistent with the retouching you just did on your face here. Now the body shape, I tend to not like to touch adjustments like this unless in a case like this, you know, she has incredibly baggy overalls and a sweater on her. So we're losing a little bit of her shape. You know, she's a model and everything, so she really doesn't need any of this. But again, I just want to try to help all the bagginess of the clothes. So I'm just going to use just a hair bit of this, just to make up for some of the bagginess in the clothes. And that's it. Again, she didn't need that. I'm purely doing that for a creative decision around the baggy clothes. Now, again, the camera I used for this shot was the Hasselblad X2D with this 25V f2.5. This lens actually gets a lot of great bokeh on it for it being such a wide angle and medium format. But this is the Portra bokeh turned halfway up, just so you guys can see if you wanted to, especially on a wide angle type ordeal, you can, you know, get more bokeh out of it, but we don't need it. So I'm just going to turn it off. But now to match our film results, I am going to utilize the film grain on here. So you can see at 45%, way too much, which is an amazing option that we can get so much out of there. Because think about it, by the time we upload this to Instagram, Instagram's going to compress a lot of that grain. So I do want to make the grain a little bit heavier. So when we do post it, we're not going to lose as much. Now, before I export this back into Lightroom, let's look at the before and after. Here's the before. Here's the after. Again, we're not changing the way she looks. We're not, you know, overly manipulating it and making her look like she's a totally different person. We're simply just trying to get real world looks out of it. Instead of, you know, the super high fidelity, super incredibly sharp medium format digital shot. Here's another before and after with it zoomed all the way out. Here's the before. That's the after. Again, we're not trying to change who she is and what she looks like or make her look, you know, look more perfect than real life. We're simply trying to make it look more natural. And all right, guys, here we go. Here's the two final images. I'm going to zoom in on the film shot here. And then let's just zoom in on our Hasselblad shot right here as well. The only thing I want to change on the Hasselblad shot here, I'm just going to create 2 stops here on the curves. And then I'm going to lift the highlights up just so we get some of that highlight pop back. I'm going to pump some blues into those highlights too. And there we go. So there's our after shots on the final retouched images. So what do we learn here? Again, I think a lot of people think when it comes to film that portraits naturally look better, which is correct. But a lot of the times you still have to retouch your film portrait shots. Again, the old school way of retouching, we would lose a lot of that beautiful softness and skin texture and grain that the film gives us over a portrait. But now with the software, we're not losing any of that. We're keeping all of that while still doing our retouching. And then when it came to our 100 megapixel digital medium format shot, you can see the retouching did just as well. The biggest difference being, you know, on the digital shot, we have way more resolution on there. You know, we're able to zoom in way more if we need to. Overall, I think the results worked out a little bit better on the digital shot, purely because, again, we have more information. And even afterwards, even after we baked in the film grain and everything, you know, you can still see a little bit more sharpness out of it. So sharpness doesn't always mean better though. Personally, why I like shooting film is because it's not sharp. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I just thought this would be really intriguing to talk about and to show the differences, whether you're shooting film or digital. You know, Aperty can really get the job done for you. Yes, again, this video is sponsored by Aperty, but I actually use it, and that's why I am talking about it right now. So if you guys are interested in trying out Aperty, I'll be sure I'll have all the information down in the description below. So just click that link down below, you know, try it out for yourself and see if you like it or not. Again, for me, it saved me a lot of time and hassle now. Before, sometimes it would take me months with my ADHD just to get a photo shoot edited because I would be so miserable doing retouching because it was such a waste of life to sit there and have to, you know, spend hours on sometimes on one photo just to get a decent retouching. But now you guys see, it literally takes less than 5 minutes to edit an image. Sometimes it literally takes me 60 seconds. And then once I'm done with that shot, I can apply it to other images. So now, you know, I'm sending some of these models 30 to 60 images, where before I was like, hey, I can only edit like 8 images because, you know, the retouching took too long. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, if you have any questions, if you have any requests that you'd like to see Aperty do in the future, put them down in the comments below. They're going to be reading them. And that's it. Peace.